The Spring Festival Gala is China's biggest television spectacle of the year, kind of similar to the Super Bowl. If the Super Bowl was comprised of song and dance performance, comedy skits, and stand-up routines. However, one particular performance titled The Youth of China has been getting attention on Weibo lately because a clip of the performance was featured on the iconic jumbo screens of Times Square. The routine was performed by Chinese action star Vincent Zhao, and many Weibo users described it as having a lot of positive energy. Weibo reaction to news that the performance is playing at Times Square is a little mixed. So first, we're going to take a look at what the supporters had to say.
This performance was attention-grabbing. Are they trying to set off a kungfu wave? I thought it had impact when I watched it on TV. Didn't know it would be this popular. What other aspects of Chinese culture are popular overseas besides kung fu? Well, at the very least, this program was very positive and energetic.
China has been trying to project its soft power for years now, which include the holding of large international events like the Olympics and the World Expo, as well as buying ad space at places like Times Square and foreign TV networks, as well as the setup of cultural schools like the Confucian Institute. Now, the goal is to expand the influence of Chinese culture so that, according to Harvard Kennedy School professor Joseph Nye, the country will be able to get what it wants through attraction rather than coercion or payments. But it seems that projecting a Chinese image that caters to the taste of a Western audience is still something that requires further fine-tuning. According to a survey by the Pew Research Center's Global Attitudes Projects, people surveyed in the U.S., France, Germany, Spain, and Japan still view China's growing economic status as a bad thing, and experts partly blame this on poor communications. Zhao Qizheng, the former director of the State Council Information Office, said during an online forum that it's understandable that the international community is cynical towards the Chinese voice, and that the limits of official propaganda makes it easy to call into question the credibility of the Chinese voice, that it's easy to believe that it has a political agenda. What kind of image China should be sending to the world is a popular topic of discussion on China's many discussion forums. And many different people will have many different ideas, but they mostly fall into two categories. One is to present a strong China, reflected in its growing GDP and increasingly modern military. And the other is to present a likable China, a country of humble people who are fond of guests and kind to visitors. Now, both would have its challenges. Okay, now let's take a look at what else Weibo users had to say about the Kung Fu performance being broadcast at Times Square.
Strong youth of China? How would we accomplish such a feat when we are making them weaker from the moment they enter China's education system? Some people will probably lose their heads and think we really are a superpower now. Playing your video at Times Square costs money. They are using taxpayer money to show a video in the U.S. and calling it a feat that impresses the world. So silly. Looks like promoting soft power still depends on Liang Qichao. I remember Liang Qichao's last phrase about a country without borders. I think he meant for the Chinese culture to be spread around the globe.
The name Liang Qichao that some of the commenters referred to was a Chinese reformist that lived during the end of the Qing dynasty in the early 20th century. Now, he wrote the words to the youth of China almost 100 years ago to call to attention the importance of having strong and well-educated youths in the country. Liang was an advocate of the constitutional monarchy, and during his stay in Canada in 1899, he formed the Save the Emperor Society. He found himself at ideological odds with Sun Yat-sen, who promoted revolution while Liang preached reforms. And when the Qing dynasty was eventually overthrown, Liang merged his Democratic Party with Republicans and formed the new Progressive Party.